Hey guys, this is Shan, the founder of Millennials In Motion. So last year I put down $2,000 investment and started an e-commerce company that eventually grew to over 6 digits in revenue. But that didn't happen without a lot of mistakes on the way. So the challenge I had was that I didn't know how to start an e-commerce company, and I learned everything from scratch and from YouTube. And therefore I had to learn some things the hard way, which is making the mistake. So today I'm going to share these with you so that hopefully you don't make the same mistakes that I did. What I will do in this video is I will teach you 3 things. From these mistakes you will learn how to make sales, how not to lose sales, and how Etsy and Amazon's algorithms work. So let's get started. Mistake number 1, do not sell out of inventory. In just 3 months from launching on Etsy, I had already grew to about $10,000 a month in revenues on Etsy, and that was amazing. But what was the number 1 problem I had? Well, I ran out of inventory for some of the products. And because my channel is all about low risk, low investment, I didn't put a lot of investment in my first batch. I only put in about $1,000 in my first inventory run. And therefore, there wasn't a lot of inventory, and there was a very high demand for face masks, which is the product that I sold. The challenge was, once it ran out of inventory, immediately Etsy started pushing my rankings down. And I never recovered even when I got my inventory back. And that's one thing that I hope Etsy will fix about their algorithm, is that when something runs out of inventory, if you don't get that inventory back as soon as possible, you will lose rankings and you may never get the rankings back. Whereas on Amazon, you actually can get the rankings back. So there are pros and cons of Etsy and Amazon, some of which I talked to in a different YouTube video I made called the Etsy versus Amazon versus Shopify, which I'll link down below. But the nice thing about Amazon is that they are really predictable. So if I had a certain ranking for a certain product and it went out of stock, all you have to do is go to that listing and close it. Close listing. Once you do that, usually try to do it within the same day that you sold out, then Amazon remembers what your rankings were, and when it comes back in stock, they immediately push you into that same ranking. And I've done that multiple times, and they've always pushed me back. So that was really helpful, and that's one thing that Amazon's a little bit better than Etsy, whereas Etsy's unpredictable. Once it relaunches, then Etsy goes through the whole process again of showing it to the audiences that they think that they should show your product to, and if those audiences don't react in the exact same way they reacted the first time around, then Etsy doesn't get you your rankings back. And it's really hard to get the exact same behavior because in different times, people are looking for different things. And maybe one month, people are really looking for that type of face mask. And another month, suddenly there's 10 more competitors, or people are looking for less face masks, and you just never get the rankings back. After I lost ranking on Etsy, my sales cut into about half. So if I was to multiply that by 5 months remaining in the year, that's about $25,000 worth of revenue that I lost just because I didn't have the stock. So here's what I recommend. For Etsy, do not lose ranking no matter what it takes. And if it takes air shipping, then get your products air shipped. Air shipping usually costs me about 50 to 80% the cost of the inventory. So if the inventory cost me $100, I would have to pay $50 to $80 just to get it shipped over. Whereas sea shipping costs more, about 20% to 50% of the cost of the inventory. So if it costs $100, then sea shipping would be $20 to $50. But it is so worth it to get air shipping because that is nothing compared to how much money you lose when Etsy pushes your rankings down. Mistakes number 2, do not forget to protect your conversion. So when my CNBC Make It video came out about Millennials in Motion, there was suddenly tons and tons of traffic that got pushed into my Etsy store. Now, I thought that this would really help sales, but it didn't. In fact, that CNBC feature cut my sales in half on Etsy. And the reason why is because the conversion rate of those products went down. Prior to the CNBC video, my conversion rates were from traffic that Etsy sent me where people were already ready to buy. And if they're ready to buy, then there's a good chance that 2 to 5% of them would purchase an item that they view. But with CNBC pushing all that traffic into my store and most people not really interested in buying, just seeing what I was selling, this destroyed my conversions, and so far my Etsy shop still hasn't recovered. Another thing I noticed that isn't great is that prior to CNBC video coming out, I was spending $10 to $20 on Etsy ads per day. And that was good money because it actually converted into sales, so I didn't mind spending that money. But after the CNBC video pushed all of that traffic to my Etsy store, my Etsy ad views completely were crushed. It's like they didn't even want to show my products anymore because they thought, hey, she's getting all this traffic from somewhere, so instead of doing $10 to $20 worth of ad views, we're only gonna give her $1 or $2 worth of ad views per day. And this is something very strange about Etsy's algorithm that I don't think is a very good idea, because in general, you want your sellers to be encouraged to push outside traffic to your shop and not discourage, because this really discourages people to push outside traffic. Also, be careful of buying Pinterest and Instagram ads. I did run a few Pinterest ads in order to push some customers to my Etsy store. Now, in the very beginning when I did this around May of last year, it was amazing. The more traffic from Pinterest I pushed, the more Etsy would also push my products to their customers. But then later in the year, this turned 180 degrees and did the opposite. It did just like what the CNBC video did. It actually lost conversion rate and pushed the rankings down, and the Etsy ad views got sucked up too. And lastly, another problem I had is one day I called Etsy support line and asked them for advice. I said that I have this product that has 10 different variations, but really only one of the variations sell. And because that one variation was going sold out, I asked them, should I close this listing down or should I keep this listing open and just have people view the listing but not able to buy that one variation? The woman on Etsy support told me that I should keep the listing up and just let it be viewed even if that one variation isn't available to purchase. And that was a huge mistake, because I did that, and that top seller, best seller listing suddenly got super low conversion rates because nobody was buying it since the top variation was sold out, and it died. From being first page on many keywords, it became something that was rarely ever seen on Etsy, and there was nothing I could do to push it back up. So moral of the story, protect your conversion rates. If you're gonna send traffic to your Etsy store, make sure it's qualified traffic that will likely convert to sales. A good example of this is when I first launched my Etsy store, I posted it on my Facebook, and a bunch of my friends started buying some of the masks. And because my friends were actively purchasing products, Etsy actually gave me a huge algorithm push. They moved me from 1 to 2 orders a day worth of traffic to about 5 to 6 orders a day worth of traffic. And that was a big deal for me. So sharing your Etsy store with friends to get qualified leads that end in purchases, great. Doing random marketing and PR that doesn't end up in sales, not so good. Mistake number 3, not following Etsy, Amazon, and Walmart's terms. So when you first start out with an e-commerce business, there's so much you have to learn. Of course, I didn't read all the terms all the time, but that led to 2 mistakes. One mistake is early on in my Etsy shop, I decided that I needed more lifestyle pictures. So I went out there with my iPhone camera and started taking pictures, and immediately after taking the picture, I would just upload it into Amazon on my phone right there and then with no editing. And this was a huge mistake. I found out later that Etsy actually requires a 2000 pixel by 2000 pixel quality picture. And because some of the iPhone pictures I took were not that big in size, Etsy dinged me for it. And I saw sales immediately go down after I uploaded those low quality pictures according to Etsy's view. Another example, this is with Walmart. So I had face mask products, some of them were for kids, and Walmart kept taking them down and I didn't know why. And I would reach out to Walmart, but they didn't really explain why. They just said that the items were prohibited. And I ignored it. For months and months, I just had my listings taken down and didn't bother with it. But then one day, I emailed them again and I asked more probing questions, and finally someone answered that it was because I was marketing those masks to kids and I didn't have the right tags for it. And that was it. So I could still sell face masks, but I just can't sell them and market them to kids. I think I had one sentence. It was like, one size fits most adults and kids. And that one sentence got them to take my products down. So all I did was I just removed the part that says, and kids. And suddenly they were like, okay, great, we'll republish it. So I wish I had done that earlier and I knew that earlier. I lost out on months and months of sales of those products that didn't have to be taken down. My question for you guys is, what are some of the mistakes that you've done when you've launched either an e-commerce company or any other passive income source? Please write down below, and if you have any questions, I reply to 100% of all the comments, and I'm happy to share other mistakes if you've also had them as well. If there's any mistakes that you list and I know how to fix it, I will give you my direct feedback. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. And in the future, I will create videos about successes. What are the top things I did that did help my sales? But I hope that from my mistakes, you learn from these and don't make them yourself. And happy selling.